everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Roxy Stryer. Hello, Roxy.
Hi, DJ. That was quite the pregnant pause.
Yeah.
I was like, what's you got for me now?
We build up. Oh, we're building it up. We're building it up.
Hello, Roxy.
Hello, Roxy. Today, we are talking about The Bear. That's right, gang, because if you've long-time watchers, we're switching things up a little bit. You've probably noticed around the channel, trying some new things, trying some new shows. There's been stuff, if you're a patron, you've been seeing some new shows that are going to be coming out very soon to the public. Get that early access over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. And we're doing it for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is I got a baby on the way. So I, trying to shake things up in advance of that. So this show is going to be transforming. We're doing a bunch of different shows. Only Stupid Answers is evolving into more of like a podcast network of a bunch of different shows. Same feed, same podcast feed, same YouTube channel. But we're giving you a little variety of stuff. And so this show we're doing is going to be a bit more TV focused. We'll still do movies, but we're going to be checking in with TV shows. Roxy is TV queen. And so that's going to be kind of our focus on that, plus a little bit of news, stuff like that. And this allows us to do a lot of things, not the least of which is we'll be able to circle back. Like it used to be like we would do an Acolyte episode, and I'd be like, we did our Acolyte episode. That's it. Now we'll be able to circle back. We'll be able to circle back on The Boys. We'll be able to circle back on House of the Dragon. And we might be able to check in on things like The Bear, maybe even some reality TV stuff we haven't done in the past. So that is what we're trying out here. This show will get a new name. Still workshopping it. Going to talk to Roxy about it after the show. It might be something familiar. So stay tuned for that. Leave your suggestions. Not on the show. No, this is behind the scenes stuff for me. I like the... I'm going to keep this.
No, I said leave your suggestions.
Leave them. I thought you were saying list the ones you got on your board, DJ. I'm like, no, that's going to be behind the scenes conversations. I want
people's input.
Thank you. That is a good suggestion, Roxy. Leave your suggestions.
Said no.
It's too late. No. You already no backsies. You said no. You can't do it. You ruined the yes and. You said no. So yeah. So stay tuned for that. All this means is that you're going to be getting some more goodness, especially if you are a patron. Patrons can watch this stuff live. Patrons are getting early access to some of the new shows. A lot of exciting stuff. Go to patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. But before we get into our main discussion about The Bear, a little more business up top, including, please go to hellbentcomicbook.com. That's right. I got a new comic on Kickstarter. This is a collected edition of the entire Hellbent saga, all 3 volumes in one complete soft cover collection, brand new cover, full cover gallery, and brand new stories. An epilogue chapter that has never been seen or heard of before, along with some stuff like there's another short story that supporters got digital versions of that it'll be the first time it is in print. So if you've been following Hellbent the entire time, or if you're brand new to Hellbent, there's something for everybody in this collection. As of this recording, we're just a little kiss away from reaching our funding goal. So please, I think we're like 5 backers away from reaching our goal. Go over there to hellbentcomicbook.com. There'll be a link in the description. Go support that. If you listen to this on iTunes, please give us a 5-star review. If you listen on Spotify, every week we ask a question or have a poll. Last week's poll was, are you rooting for Team Green or Team Black on House of the Dragon? Roxy,
how do anybody say green? Was there a single person?
There was at least a single person. The percentages were 80% Team Black, 20% Team Dragon.
We kick them out, DJ.
Well, and here's the thing. For the shows that we don't cover on the main show, we do what we're into over on the Patreon, where we visit stuff like House of the Dragon and The Boys. Again, all the stuff that we're into, that we're watching. We'll say, and probably will mention on that show, that something I do like about that show is obviously we're rooting for Team Black. But the Team Green support structure is more robust. Like when we see Rhaenyra in her like council, like her like council, it's like, who the fuck are these people? Like, who are they? Whereas when you see the Team Green council, like, oh, all these are main characters of the show. They all suck, but they're all like, I recognize them. I know their perspectives. And I think that's a smart little, like, even though Team Black are our leads, there's a,
Hold on. So you're saying that the politicians we recognize more are the ones we should root for?
No. I'm saying we root for Team Black. I'm just saying narratively, I think it's a good way to keep your audience invested in Team Green because there's more characters you recognize there.
Yeah, but me and you, DJ,
Yeah.
have an audience where 20% of them are Team Green. What do we do about that?
What do we do about those people? Listen, we just let them be wrong, Roxy.
We let them be wrong.
We just let them be wrong.
Especially after, and we will talk about this after this week's episode.
Yeah.
Where are you not embarrassed? I mean, like, how are you going to say Team Green? I'm going to give our audience the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that they voted before watching this week's episode.
Yeah. I think that is true. I also liked, we did something a little, I don't want to spoil our conversation there, but they do smart things in there. Like, hey, at this point, nobody likes Kristen Cole. But we have a subplot that focuses on him. So what do we do there? The classic thing we always do with characters like that. We saddle him with somebody that's worse. So you're like, well, compared to this guy, Kristen's not so bad.
Very good. Very good. Very good job.
Yeah, it's a good narrative trick. Okay, so a little bit of news because we are focusing this specific show on more TV stuff. Of course, we're going to cover Cobra Kai season 6, guys and gals, which we got a trailer for. And I was like, season 6? There's been 5 previous seasons of this show? That's crazy.
Are you not caught up?
I am caught up. I just forgot how many seasons there were, but this was a good reminder of how like off the rails the show's gotten. It started off relatively grounded. That island is way off in the distance now.
Yeah, I kind of dig that though. This show really marches to the beat of its own drum, and when I was watching this trailer, I was like, "How old are these kids?"
Yes. Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, this show is one thing.
They've got 401ks now.
Yeah, we're focusing on like high schoolers, and it's another thing when it's like adults beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've loved every season of this show from day one. I just think that this really put a new spin on being able to do reboots / revivals.
Yeah.
They changed the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they're given as much credit as they deserve for like changing your entire tone of your franchise
to
be whatever you want it to be for the OG audience. I never watched Marvel's whatever X-Men
97.
97.
Yeah.
What are the years?
Yeah.
X-Men 97. But I know that you were bothered by it because you felt like they were talking down to you.
Yeah.
This show doesn't do that.
Yeah.
They are talking to their OG audience. If anybody else wants to come on board, okay. But this is like for the originals, which I love.
You know, I think I could make an argument though that I think it does a good job that playing to what I will call like the CW crowd, whatever that looks like in the generation of this show. Being accessible, doing new things, introducing new characters, following new characters, and being just as invested with that. It does capture the vibe of, hey, if you remember the old Karate Kid, you can watch this with your kid. That works. You know what I mean? That's a thing that you can do. Like if that's your situation, that works fine. Which makes it more accessible, which I'm a big proponent of making things accessible, not having to be like, I will say they're like, who's the character's name? Ooh, in season 6, we're going to get Rick Barnes. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that, I thought it was an actor at first. So I went to look it up. I'm like, oh, it's a character from, I guess, Karate Kid 3, which I don't know that I've ever seen. Maybe I've seen parts of.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we got Elizabeth Shue, it was like, oh, okay, we're like with you. But like sometimes the cameos and things, I'm just like, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter when you're watching the show. It's not like it heavily leans on you need to remember everything. They do a good job of being like, this is a deep cut. If you're a deep cut kind of person, here you go. If you're not, don't worry. You're not going to not understand what's going on.
Here's what I need from this as far as cameos go. Which, listen, we're going to have a lot of discussion about cameos, talking about the bear. But we need to get Hilary Swank in there, the next Karate Kid, one of her first, like, big roles. And, like, that's the last one. Unless you really want to wait, no, because they're doing the movie with Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio, right?
Are they?
I think that's what the movie is. So we've already looped in the Jaden Smith Karate Kid. The missing component is Hilary Swank. That's it. That's the last piece of the puzzle we're missing.
I wonder if she would do it at this point.
I think here's
Is
the
this
thing.
the final season? We have another season after
It's
this?
the final season, but it's broken up into like 3 parts or something. You know how Netflix does.
Contract stuff is fun.
Not just contract stuff, but just drop an episode a week. Netflix, let it go. Just let it go. Let's see. Untitled Karate Kid movie starring, Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. And apparently Ming-Na Wen, that's cool. You got to loop in. There's no way this doesn't acknowledge Cobra Kai, right? It's got to.
What year does it say? Like
it 2025 apparently is when it's supposed to come out.
So there will be no more Cobra Kai.
Yeah, but like, here's why I bring it up. The actress that plays Daniel's daughter, Ralph Macchio's daughter in the show, she's not in the cast, and it's like you got to at least acknowledge it. You got to, like, Cobra Kai that whole thing exists. We're not bringing Ralph Macchio in here and pretending Cobra Kai didn't happen, right?
Right. I would think that. I think that would really piss off the audience if they didn't do that.
Yeah. What a weird thing. All right. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to this show. I like Cobra Kai. Here's another thing I'm cautiously optimistic for. Superman, James Gunn's Superman. Roxy, have you seen the set photos that have been leaking?
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to show them to you again.
No, I haven't. Show me.
Yeah, yay. Okay, so we've been getting some set photos. I believe they're filming in Cleveland. I don't remember. They're filming outside, and we're getting some set photos, and we've gotten some first looks at our Justice League members, namely Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, and what I'm going to call Blue Guy, some guy in a motion capture shoot. So we're going to start with Nathan Fillion. If you're not watching the video of this, you can find these images online. And listen.
No, DJ, if you're not watching the video of this, what are you doing? Go watch.
No, it means you're listening to the podcast. I appreciate you.
Cool.
Do both. Listen, watch the video of this. Listen to the podcast, then go watch the video of this. Double up. Why not? And so what was interesting to me about this, obviously, it's James Gunn. Of course, he's going to put his friend Nathan Fillion in the stupid Guy Gardner classic haircut. Why wouldn't you? The bowl cut. But what's interesting, what immediately stood out to me was that Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern symbol is on his belt and on the sleeve of his jacket, but it's not on his chest. And I saw some things online that it's like he's got a GG logo, which at one point in the comics he had. That's not what he has, gang. It is definitely a stylized JL Enhance. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see that it's very specifically a stylized J and L. So I think we've known these heroes are going to be in this movie. I think this confirms that the Justice League exists in this universe. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Why wouldn't you feel good about that?
Couple things. One, I don't know how long Superman has been Supermaning. And so, and the reason that was given that we're not continuing with Henry Cavill was he's too old for the part. But, so the implication being this is young Superman. So I kind of thought like starting out Superman, and I don't love the idea that the Justice League exists before Superman does. And I specifically don't like the idea that Guy Gardner is a Green Lantern. He's like a third Green Lantern in the comics. Is Green Lanterning before Superman. But, maybe Superman's been Supermaning for a minute. I also don't love that there's a Justice League. This is very clearly pulling from the Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis run Justice League International, which was the version of Justice League that was post Crisis on Infinite Earths. And because of editorial mandate, that team was not allowed to include Superman or Wonder Woman or any of like the big names. And so it was all D-listers. And that title was very well beloved. It was known for its more comedic tone, which obviously is right in James Gunn's wheelhouse. But I think the bigger headline there is that run was then replaced by Grant Morrison's blockbuster JLA, which was, hey gang, the whole Justice League's back. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, the whole gang. And so I kind of feel like that's James Gunn's gambit here, is the Maxwell Lord Justice League, the Goofy, Guy Gardner, that group is our Justice League until we finally feel like it's safe enough to do our own. And that we're going to be like, get rid of these losers. Here's the marquee characters. I feel like that's the game here.
So you want to see the creation of the Justice League over this next chapter of James Gunn's run?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think the problem is we just saw that and it didn't go so well. Like
I don't think that's the Justice League's fault, though. I think that's other people's fault.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying that. But like, when you're trying to reboot something,
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes you want to do the opposite of what didn't work.
Yeah.
And so that might be something that they're considering. But I think the reason it didn't work is because we didn't get the individual stories before we formed the Justice League, not because we saw the formation of the Justice League.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to see the stories of our Justice League members and then form the Justice League 7 movies in, 6 movies in, like, I want to know who our Batman is, our Superman is, our Supergirl, if they're not doing Wonder Woman, I guess. Like, I want to know our Green Lantern. Like, I want to know who what they've been up to. Yeah. And then I would love an Avengers movie, Justice League. Like, I would love that.
I think, to your point, also another concern I have, and by the way, I'm floating these concerns. I'm very much rooting for this movie. I've liked James Gunn's DC output, specifically the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Love them, and I am desperate for a good Superman movie. So I'm very much rooting for this movie. I just, you see some stuff, you're like, oh, is that what we're doing? I don't know.
Is it possible that's not what that was, DJ?
The JL?
Yeah.
It is possible. It just feels like I saw somebody online post a thing that like these costumes, because we already know Sean Gunn has been cast as Maxwell Lord. Maxwell Lord is kind of the manager of the Justice League in that Justice League International run. And somebody online was like, look at these costumes. They represent more of the corporate-minded ethos of Maxwell Lord, where Superman's more organic and optimistic, and it shows the conflict there, which I love the concept behind that tweet. One of my other issues with these costumes is, to me, aesthetically, they look the same as the Superman costume, like the line work and everything. And that's another question. I'm like, are they basing their costumes off of Superman? Is he within the reality of the movie?
Like, you mean design-wise in the movie?
In the movie,
Superman.
I know within our reality, it's the same costume designer. I'm saying within the ethos of the movie, are they basing their costumes off of Superman? Is he getting their costumes from the same place they are? Why is it all so samey? So. Again, I really want this movie to be good. I'm not trying to trash the movie. There's also, I wish I pulled this up. I saw another thing. It's harder now, and I'm going to say, no, I could say post-Twitter world, because it's X now. In a post-Twitter world, to chase these things down, they are filming at, God, I wish I had this in my notes. I saw this at like 1 a.m. last night. They are either filming, or there's reference to, I want to say it's maybe the Cleveland, like Cleveland Central Station or something like that, but it's a building that was the inspiration for the Hall of Justice in the old Super Friends cartoon. Implying, like, some people are like, could that be the stand-in, like that artifice, like we're going to film there and then we're going to do some CG stuff to make that the Hall of Justice.
That's cool.
And as a fan, do I want to see that? Yeah, man. Like, yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely yes. We'll see. I will tell you one thing that no notes. Some of the footage we've seen, like we see Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific, he's in like a flying chair, land in front of a crowd. And they walk by this crowd, and then Superman shows up in the crowd, and all these kids run up, and he's like, hey, and he starts picking some of them up, and they're all so excited to see Superman. I'm like, that's great. That that makes me feel good. That's like, okay.
You mean like to see David Corn sweat the actor? They're there.
No, like in the movie,
or
that's
in
what
the movie.
happened. In the
Oh,
movie, they're filming,
cool.
like the Justice League shows up and
I
everybody's
didn't see
like,
that.
cool, the Justice League. And then Superman shows up and they lose their minds for Superman. I'm like, that, yes, perfect. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. One of the things I was, because I've been doing on my YouTube this 33 to 33, where I'm streaming for 33 days until my 33rd birthday, which is
Gotcha.
in a week.
Woo!
And I've been a little loosey-goosey with it recently. But anyway,
Yeah.
one of the things, because of that, I was going over the top movies of 2014,
Yeah.
which is when I realized that Guardians of the Galaxy was the number 3 movie that year, which means that James Gunn has had like the best decade of anybody I know,
Yeah.
entertainment-wise. I can't believe that he's been really doing this for a decade, which means that it's more of a risk and less of a risk right now. Like, I really like James Gunn's stuff.
Yeah.
He has my faith. So I feel very excited about him doing this. But also, the reason we loved him for Guardians is because he was willing to take every risk.
Yeah.
Because who the F was James Gunn?
Yeah.
And like, he needed to break through and just do for the art. Now he's trying a bunch of stuff. He doesn't want to do the same thing that he's done with his successes.
Yeah.
He wants to do more and different. It's kind of like what we watched with Taika a couple years ago, who broke on the scene strong. And I still love Taika, but sometimes Taika puts out stuff now where I'm like, that was not for me.
Yeah.
Even though his first several things were for me.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is going to be James Gunn, like, solidifies him as brilliant. He can be anywhere. He's a chameleon and he can perform. Or whether this is like, I don't want this to be anything like I've done before. I got to show them what else I can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's weird, and I think you're right. And I would even be more concerned of the push and pull there, because and you talk about the last decade. What has he done that we've loved? It's basically been superhero groups of weirdos, like weirdos and losers. That's not
Superman is not that.
Superman is not that. But now he's injected a version of the Justice League that can be that, and it's like, so there's a concern of like, is that warring sensibility, is it going to work, man? Like, is it? And again, I go back to, because I am not. I think the Guardians movies are fine. They're not like, I'm not over the moon of them, but I really, really like the Suicide Squad, and I really, really like Peacemaker.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm hopeful, and the casting of this movie is really good, and it's just,
he hasn't done anything to make me doubt him, and yet I feel this like,
well, and also I think maybe part of that, and I think this is wrapped up in what you just said, is the pressure there, because it's not just James Gunn making a Superman movie. This is like the opening salvo to a new universe, and we've played this game before. Specifically, we played this game before where it's all based around one director's specific vision, specifically with DC characters. And that was at best hit or miss, I think we can say now. And so it's like, I think it's hard for us as fans to not have that sort of trepidation of like, oh no, we've been here before. Oh no.
Yeah, I know. It is so true. But also, at what point do we just give James Gunn our, like, okay, you have done us right so far, we'll just let this ride? Because I saw people really ragging on these photos, which is not what you and I did.
No.
Especially the Superman. Like, a lot of people didn't like the look.
I'm not over the moon about the costume, but again, like, I don't know about you, Roxy, but like, you'll see people post this Guy Gardner photo next to like a fan, like, you know, the cosplayers on Instagram that are like, have lit their things real well. And it's like, yeah, this is a set photo from like a mile away with like, what are you do? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. DJ is just like, I've been doing this for long enough to know that this doesn't actually hold that much water. Like, these photos don't hold that much water to how something looks.
Yeah.
They might look like seriously 100% different. So even the JL, what we are assuming is a JL, might be a base for something else. Like, we just, and it could have just been like a fun bit that the costume designer was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that's what's happening,
But who knows?
but we just don't know.
Yeah.
It's a set photo. It's not an official photo. It's just a set photo. There's no computer generated things to these set photos. These are not the final. Like, it's so it's just hard for when people are like, this sucks. And it's like, you're annoying, bro. Do you not know how this works at all?
Yeah. And like, listen, I'll Zack Snyder's movies weren't my favorite, but like, yeah, he did a good job. Those costumes looked cool. They looked cool. He knew how to do, promo photos with that stuff. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hopeful. It is cool to see. I will say this, speaking of the CGI stuff, it is cool to see like Superman's walking around with a real ass cape, man. Like they're filming him with the cape. But to your point about the CG, Roxy, question for you: who do you think Blue Man is in this set photo?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you have theories on this?
Well, I talked about this with Sal.
Okay.
And he floated the idea of Gnort, which is like a dog person Green Lantern, which does seem very much in shit. He loves his weird animal people.
He does love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe. I also wonder if it's like, I mean, it could be as simple as, listen, we got these guys on wires. We need somebody over here to assist, but he's got to not be in the movie. so like that's all that is. I'm trying to think. I mean, truthfully, for all we know, that could be a stand-in for Metamorpho, depending on how CG they want to go with Metamorpho. Because we know he's in the movie.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, because we don't know what the scene is, what the moment is, whatever. This could be somebody who's there for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a tiny itty bitty role. I'm not even fully convinced that it's an actor that's in the movie, as opposed to like somebody help lifting something that they need to generate out.
Yeah. Mike Joyce says, I think I saw on Twitter that he was just a crew member that was helping the actors out.
That's funny.
And he also says, isn't Jon Stewart going to be the Green Lantern in the TV show? So it's going to be, they've announced the Lantern show, written by Damon Lindelof and Tom King, along with other people. And the two Lanterns in that are going to be Hal and Jon Stewart, which makes sense. They're the most.
That show could be great. That show might be great.
I'd be so excited. Great. When you say like a Max or like an HBO Green Lantern show written by Damon Lindelof and Tom King, that sounds like an adult, like a mature show, which goes back to like, what tone are we aiming for? Because it should be, your Green Lantern show should be a PG-13 show.
I don't know about that though, because that's not what Max is anymore.
Yeah.
And on top of that, of course we did do Leftovers and Watchmen with him.
Yeah.
But we started with Lost, which is, because you're just talking about maturity level, right?
Yeah, it's that would imply to me, you give me those creators and I'm like, well, that sounds like an R-rated show, which I think is not smart for, not necessarily for the DCU, but for Green Lantern specifically.
It might not be though.
Yeah.
We don't. Max is now.
Whatever Max is.
Yeah, I don't even know what to fill in the blank there. Like Max, Gossip Girl was on Max.
Yeah. Well, listen. Gang, that's all we know so far about these set photos. Let us know what you think in the comments. But now let's head on over to our main discussion for today, which is going to be season 3 of The Bear, which Roxy has watched in its entirety. I watched one episode of, and then I went back and watched another episode of season 2. And I wanted to get into your thoughts on this season, Roxy, and then after that, I wanted to get into the audience reaction to this season, because it doesn't seem to be, I'm going to say, it seems to be mixed, is what I'm going to say.
If I have to see another stupid cooking pun for a title of these shows, The Bear simmers, but does it sizzle?
Yeah.
The Bear's a slow cook, but a bold roast. Like the title, the way that people were writing their articles, I was like, we get it. It's a cooking show. You think you're the most clever. Did you like it? Because I don't know when you're saying simmers and sizzles and cooks and roasts. Like,
So what did you? But what about did it simmer or roast or what? Or did it cook?
I
What are your thoughts?
loved this season. I thought this season was effing brilliant. Was it very different than the first two seasons? It really was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like night and day different because now they trust themselves and they're like, we're going to tell smaller individual stories. And I loved following characters that we haven't followed before for the same reason last season why I preferred Forks to the family Christmas
I
episode.
think fishes.
My favorite what?
Fishes, I think was that one. What?
My favorite episode was Forks.
Okay.
Because we are following Cousin's story.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love like watching Cousin's journey. How did he get to from A to B? And how are we going to improve as people and character arcs? So this season had a lot of that where it was like, how did we get here and what's going on emotionally and mentally? This is I've had somebody post like, this isn't a cooking show. This is a show about alcoholism and how it ruins everybody's life. And I was like, it's actually not my personal interpretation of the show. However,
Yeah.
this is a show about interpersonal relationships for sure.
Yeah.
It's not a show about a restaurant. It is a show about the people in this place and what this and their lives and their relationships with one another and how they impact each other and influence each other. And I think that this season was like, this is for the fans. This is for you guys who really love this show, not because there's car crashes and breakups and extreme episodes, but because you want to live, you love television, you want to live with these people and you want to experience their days. And I just thought that this was such a beautiful season that television doesn't usually give us because they are scared that it's not entertaining enough. But to me, it was.
The fans seem to disagree with you. But before we
I
get
know.
into that, so where
You
are
call
we
them
at?
fans?
I don't listen. I'm not I'm not watching the
People.
show. I'm not people.
People
But
disagree
the
with me.
audience,
I don't know about fans.
the audience. I'll say because the audience score. I'll give you that. But where are we at with our characters at the beginning of this season? Because I'm going to admit right up front, I watched the first season. I watched 2 episodes of season 2, and then I was like, you know what, the show's just not for me, and I bailed. And I tried to watch. I watched the first episode of this season, and I was like, wow, I don't know what the fuck is going on this show. and so I went back and watched. We just mentioned I watched Fishes, and that was a reminder of like, yeah, the show's not for me. But so I'm not an expert on the show. So for people like me, at the beginning of the season, where are we with? We've been trying to make this new restaurant and all that stuff.
So the main things that are happening are that we come back. Do you mean what's happening in this first episode or what happened in the last?
Basically, like where are we at as we open season 3? Like what are the goals of season 3?
So the goals are different for every person. For our main lead, Jeremy Allen White, Carmy, he is now focused on getting a Michelin star. Okay. We heard him previously have a conversation with Sydney, that's Ayo, where Sid was like, I really want to get this Michelin star. He's like, that is a waste of time. It just drives you insane. Don't do it. Now he has changed his mind and he would like to team up with her, partner with her quite literally, and get this star. So that's kind of the premise of this. But everybody has a different thing going on. There's pregnancy going on. There's a breakup going on. So Carmy had been locked in the refrigerator, which I'm sure you saw reference, DJ. He had been locked in the refrigerator for the finale of last one. He had like a total effing meltdown. And he essentially broke up with his girlfriend through a refrigerator without knowing he was doing that. So that's all, a big through line of this also is that he's still in love with Claire. Is she in love with him? He's not on good terms with Cousin. Okay. Cousins are not on good terms. And also this season is one of the big things is that where a lot of them have trained, the restaurant that they all trained is closing. So kind of like what that means for them. Do they have no home base anymore? Where do people go next? Sydney's character is given an opportunity that she did not previously have
Yeah.
to leave Carmy and go start something new. So we're watching her grapple with this choice without revealing it to anybody else. The audience is
Classic.
in on this decision,
Yeah.
but the people around her aren't in on this. There are financial struggles with the restaurant. Will it stay open? What will the reviews look like? So those are some of the things at play here.
Gotcha. So the audience, I was surprised when I was putting this episode together to see that, that there seemed to be a not insignificant audience pushback to this. I went to, so on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93, this season has a 93% on the tomato meter, 58% audience score. So it is officially rotten as far as audiences are concerned. And I pulled some of what people were saying. I say the following as a major fan of the first 2 seasons and as someone who recommended this show to people any chance I got. Self-indulgent, trite filler describes most of this season, to put it plainly. Haughty, this is a different one. Haughty, abysmal, disrespect of the audience's time. Episode 1 is a literal 40-minute long montage of brooding and cooking. I started fast-forwarding 9 minutes and continued until the credits. Here's a different one. I think there were a lot of creative risks taken in the season, but to the detriment. These other ones, by the way, were like 1 star, 2 stars. This one's 2.5. I think there are a lot of creative risks taken in the season, but to the detriment of the character development. The focus on this season seems to be more on the visuals and music than actual story. There are several episodes here that you could skip entirely without missing anything impactful. Season 2 ended with a lot of energy and growth for the characters. In my opinion, this season let that fizzle out. This one is a 0.5 star, a complete boring mess. I stopped liking the show in season 2, but this season really took away how boring the show could be to new levels. No real story to speak of, no resolution, just everyone shouting at each other and flashbacks trying to be meaningful and deep. Now, I want your thoughts on that, but I will say, when people say stuff like, all these are like, hey, I've really enjoyed the show so far, or this last one was like, I stopped liking it in season 2. But when they say stuff like, no real story, just everyone shouting at each other, or when they say like pretentious and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that's been the show. That mean, as far as I know, that's the show. Like if you're not into that, like I don't know how you weren't into seasons 1. You were into seasons 1 and 2, but not this one, because isn't that the show?
Yeah. If you had asked me, do you think this has a higher critic score or audience score? Well, what would I have said? I would have said significantly higher critic score, and it does, because it is a lot less action packed. And I don't think that people are right when they say that you could skip entire episodes and it wouldn't have an impact.
Yeah,
they are right that you wouldn't be lost in the plot. This is not a plot driven season.
Yeah,
at all. Because you asked me at the beginning of I don't want to give spoilers, DJ, but you said to me, where are we at when we enter season 3? And the truth is, where we're at when we enter season 3 is where we are at when we exit season 3.
Okay.
Pretty much. So this is not a push the story forward season. This is let's stop and explain who these people are that we are going to continue to live with and how they got here. And I do think that moving forward, it's going to severely impact how we view them, in the same way that Forks episode in season 2 impacts completely how I view Cousin moving forward.
Yeah.
Because before that, I was like, this guy is a prick.
Yeah.
And now Cousin's like my favorite. I love him.
Well, that makes me happy, because I will say, I remember watching season 1, and I was bothered because this whole effort to take like a small mom and pop sandwich shop and turn it into like a bougie, like high class joint, I'm like, I hate this. I would rather the mom and pop. And so as the season was going on, I was like, I really relate with Cousin, and he's clearly not the guy you're supposed to like in the show. And then when I went and watched back Fishes, and he's talking to his pregnant partner at the time, fucking Britta from Community, and he's talking about his concerns, and I'm like, fuck, I'm Cousin on this show. God damn it.
But like, Cousin is amazing, and the show knew that.
Yeah.
And then goes to show that. So I do think that this probably lost a lot of audiences because it wasn't trying to be deep.
Yeah.
It was deep.
Okay.
It was saying, I don't think that this is a show about alcoholism, but it is a show about how your choices impact your life.
Yeah.
And if you make bad choices, you might not have the life you wanted to live. And sometimes, even if you make good choices,
Yeah.
the universe is like, sorry, too late, or
Yeah.
didn't matter, or actually that was the wrong choice, even though it was an educated choice. Like this show really is about the characters.
Yeah.
And we also spend and I'm not saying that audiences don't like it for this reason, but we spend significantly more time with the women this season.
Yeah.
Like previously, it's really been only Ayo's character that we spend any time with.
Yeah.
And this season, we get an entire episode with Jamie. Oh my God, what the hell is Laurie Stroder's name? Jamie.
I don't have it in my notes.
No, DJ, just you know the answer to this. Laurie Stroder, Jamie.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I was like, this is not in your notes.
It's Laurie Strode. In my defense, it's Laurie Strode from Halloween.
What is it? What'd I say?
You said Laurie Stroder, and I'm like, is that a character in this show? Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. An entire episode with Sugar and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, having watched Fishes, I'm sure that one's just a ball of laughs.
It's an unbelievable episode, though.
Yeah.
And we get the first episode, like we get an entire episode with Tina, who is one of the cooks that we have seen the whole time and love, but don't know like anything about why, what motivates, where this is coming from, what's her circumstances. So we really spend more time with some of the characters that I've been wondering, like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. So do you think some of the decision making, and obviously you're just audience member on the show, but I saw that this season was filmed back to back with season 4. Do you think that kind of impacted the decision making here? And also, do you think they felt, because having watched the first episode, I was like, oh, this is something you would only do if you knew all your episodes dropped at once. No, not just season 4, but this isn't, if you dropped an episode week to week, this would be an insane decision for your first episode. But if you know you drop all your episodes at once, so you think they're like, okay, we know we've got season 4 and we know every single episode is dropping at once. Do you think that informed kind of the decision making here?
I really do, DJ, because going into this, I was like, dropping every episode at once is an absolute mistake. Why would you do that for one of the biggest shows on TV? It's going to be out of the conversation. But now I totally get why they did it, because, and I'm not saying it worked, because clearly a lot of people didn't like it, but it was like, if you're waiting week for week for this, you're not getting the vibe.
Yeah.
You're not understanding what they're doing. You're just getting an episode that doesn't move the plot forward. And you're like, why am I waiting another week for this?
Yeah.
This was like, you kind of could have watched these episodes in many different orders. Like you could kind of plug and play.
Yeah.
And so I think that they definitely, because they knew that they were going to drop this all at once, that's a cool choice. But this really does feel like a tee up for season 4. This feels like an assist.
And you're okay with, because I saw a lot of people complaining that that's the way it felt, but you think that
I love that, because I feel like now I know where we're at going into this. Like, if we had just started this episode in season 4, like say that we had done what they're going to do in season 4, which I think is going to be super plot driven.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand who our players were and why they were doing this. It wouldn't hold weight for me the way that it is going to now. By the end of this, I believe, because are they ending after season 4?
I don't know. I haven't seen that. I just know they filmed it back to back.
Say that this did end after season 4.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that my least favorite season would be season 3, because it is the least plot driven.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I could get to season 4 and really love it without having season 3.
Gotcha. So
it's not a movie. It's not like when you watch a movie and you're like, this was just a tee up for the next movie. This is what television shows are supposed to do. Tee up the next one.
The other thing I saw when I was working on this episode was people like famous chef cameos, big cameos. That's now become part of the conversation on the show. And having gone back and watched because when I was seeing I was actually texting you when I was watching the first episode of season 3. I'm like, all right, I guess I need to go back and watch the Christmas one. And then I saw, because you keep like cameos of like fucking John Mulaney putting a blanket on Carmy. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Is this the first time we're seeing him? And then when we get to flashbacks, I'm like, fuck, Bob Odenkirk's in that episode. Well, fuck, now I gotta go watch that shit. And so a big part of the conversation this season is the cameos, including chef cameos.
Yeah.
Having watched Fishes, who was the other one? Shit, I just blanked on her name from she's incredible.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Not Jamie Lee Curtis, from American Horror Story.
Sarah Paulson?
Sarah Paulson. Obviously, every one of these people is wonderful. They're cast perfectly. They're executed perfectly. Like I was really surprised. Like I like John Mulaney. Seeing him, I'm like, oh, you really work on this show. The way they're using you really works.
Yeah.
So that said, do you feel like there's any level that the cameos feel gimmicky? Like the show knows this is how people talk about it, so that we're going to lean into it?
Never once. I think they've done such an unbelievable job. Like there is no spoilers about what, but in season 3, we get a Josh Hartnett cameo. That was like,
that's cool. He's good.
I had to stop because keep in mind, I stayed up the night that this dropped. I stayed up to watch.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't finish the whole thing, but I did get 6 episodes deep.
Yeah.
And so I'm like Googling, is that Josh Hartnett?
Yeah.
Because he was so deep in it and it was so not Josh Hartnett. I just thought that was like Olivia Colman isn't there for a cameo.
Yeah.
She is a role on the show. Will Poulter is a role on the show. Like he's not, I don't know. John Cena comes in and he is like, he's a role on the show. It's because he's a good actor and they want him in the scene. The Jamie Lee Curtis stuff is like between Fishes and the episode that she does in this one with her daughter. It's like, yeah, you needed a Jamie Lee Curtis level actress for this.
Yeah.
So I just think that they do an unbelievable job casting. They don't feel like forced or like, why'd you try to shoehorn this person in? I love it because I also think so many actors really respect this show because it breathes and it's real characters.
Yeah. So,
so good.
Last thing. So for me, the reason I can't get into this show, and this is not me saying it's bad or anything like that. Like sometimes I'll be like, no, this show's not good. That's not what I'm saying with The Bear. And a lot of people like you and a lot of people I respect like you love this show. So I'm not, this is not me dunking on the show. This is me trying to articulate why I don't enjoy it. And I had to think about it because the closest genetic ancestor I can think of for the tension engine of the show, which is like anxiety based, is the Safdie brothers. And I love Good Time and I love Uncut Gems. I love those movies. So it's like, okay, DJ, why do you love those movies? And I end up really enjoying The Curse. Although a good part of that is something that the show would never do.
Those movies that you're mentioning are a little more fun.
Well, I think fun in a way. I think obviously the tension comes from they're crime based. So like, that's part of, but I think that's the thing. It creates a sense of tension of like, God, there's this thing I need to do and I'm really under the gun for it and I need to get it done. The way this show makes me feel is like when you're like sleeping over at your friend's house and their parents are fighting and the only thing you want to do is just not be here. I just want to be anywhere else other than here. That's the tension of this. And I'm like, I don't need that in my life. Like, I don't care. Like, especially like, obviously I didn't feel that in the season 3 episode 1, because it's doing a very different thing. But when I went and watched back Fishes, I'm like, oh, this is exactly why I don't like this show, because I just want somebody to be like, calm down. Everybody needs to fucking take a breath. This is not, whatever you're arguing about is not, it's not literally life and death. So for me, that's why it just doesn't click for me. But for you, if you were to sell somebody on this show, why they should watch the show, why you think the show's worth watching, how would you say that?
I wouldn't sell anybody on this show.
You're like, no, don't watch it. I love it, but don't see it.
For real, because there are a lot of shows that I will try to sell people on, like a Shogun, right? Where I'm like, don't let this and this deter you. Don't let the subtitles deter you. Don't let it being placed in the 1600s deter you. Yeah. This show is like, if it deters you, if the like anxiety, tension, being restaurant based, alcoholism, slow deters you, you're not going to like the show.
Yeah.
So there's no like sales pitch for this show because it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it is not for everybody. How you feel about this is how I feel about What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh,
I
wow.
think
Okay.
I think that the show is a very well done show.
Yeah.
When I'm watching it, I'm like, God, I don't want to be watching this right now. This is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Everybody's annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's a great show.
Yeah.
It is not for me.
Yeah.
Because it's also not really a show that you would sell somebody on. You either
No.
like it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this. The Bear isn't like wait 6 episodes and see.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell pretty quickly what the show is.
Yeah.
And if you're not digging it, it's just it is not for everybody. I think that also, I worked at a restaurant for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
This show is the most accurate depiction of how heated and fucked up it does get.
Yeah.
And who decides to be a career restaurant worker
Mm-hmm.
and what the personality types of those people are. And the pretentiousness of restaurants,
Yeah.
which this show gets in its theme and tone. So it's like, if that sounds not interesting to you, do not watch this show.
Yeah. I feel like every episode, I feel like, you know, if I'm in the room, I'm like, guys, it's just food. And then I would be yelled out of the room. And I'm like, all right, I don't know. It's just food, guys. I don't think it is. Are you giving people food poisoning? No, then you're probably doing all right.
There's like a full episode this season where they all are sitting around. It's like Will Poulter, Ayo, Jeremy Allen White. All their characters are sitting around talking about what restaurants mean to them.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, this is your world. This is the dialogue. It was so sharp, such unbelievably natural dialogue and performances. I was like, is this whole thing improv? How are they doing this? The way it's shot around the table. I thought it was brilliant. I looked online. People were like, that was the most boring, fucked up episode yet. And it's like, okay, well, then that's not for you. Like,
yeah. Well, and I get what you're, I don't know how I would feel about that episode, but I do get what you mean in that there was a lot of pushback on the episode Fly in Breaking Bad, where it's a bottle episode where they're trying to kill a fly. That's one of my favorite episodes of that show.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So because I think I do think you're bringing up a good point, because I think people were bothered by that episode because it wasn't plot focused. And one of the reasons I like it, it's like, yeah, but it's about Walt and Jesse, which is what the show is about. The show is about Walt and Jesse. And if I were to lob a complaint at Breaking Bad, it's that I feel like the final season forgot that this show is about Walt and Jesse, because they spend almost the entirety of that season separated. It's like, yeah, but that is the show, is those two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I let us know in the comments what you think about this season of The Bear.
I'm super curious. I do see in the chat, it seems like Mike is making his way through it still. It seems like Leonard thought that the season was fine, and that he was a little disappointed, which I think is totally fair.
Yeah.
Like, I've never watched a show that I loved more than if somebody's like, not for me, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
and it's an important thing to remember, especially, less so than, when we're talking about a Star Wars show, but not everything needs to be for everybody,
Right.
So,
Totally.
Roxy, remind the kids at home where they can find you and what you're up to.
Everywhere at Roxy Stryer.
Check that out. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. In fact, if you're on YouTube, you can mosey on over to youtube.com/DJ Talks Trash. I've been trying some stuff on my personal channel. So go give that a look-see. Also, the collected edition of Hellbent, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, is on Kickstarter. So if you've never checked out Hellbent before, this is the perfect time to get the entire story. If you've been following us this entire time, there are new stories and new things in this collection. So go check that out. And yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.